Hi, I'm Ryan Fisher. I'm a partner here at Lowe Eklund Wakefield, and we are soon to be known as Lowe Scott Fisher. That's a change that's coming up in the next few weeks. Welcome to winter in northeastern Ohio. One of the calls we get almost daily are from people who fall on snow and ice out there in the Cleveland weather. And the question is always, do I have a case? And I'm going to talk a little bit about premises liability law in Ohio as it relates to slips and falls on snow and ice. First off, simply because you fall on somebody else's property does not make it their fault. And in Ohio, in order to recover for an injury that you claim happened on somebody else's property, you do have to show that it happened on their property, but you also have to show that the landowner, the company, it could be Walmart, it could be Target, it could be your next door neighbor, but you have to show that the landowner did something or failed to do something that they were required to do by law to make that property safe. So let me dispel myth number one, and that is a store owner or any landowner is under no obligation whatsoever to remove ice and snow from their property. Unfortunately, in greater Cleveland, we get snow and ice all the time. It would be unreasonable for the law or for a judge to require a landowner to remove all the snow and ice from their property every time it rains. Every time it snows. It just isn't realistic. The landowner isn't under an obligation to do anything if they don't want to. You have a choice not to go to that store if the parking lot isn't plowed or if you don't think that it's safe. But there are certain circumstances where liability does attach. If landowner plows the property into a big pile and the snow melts and starts to run across the parking lot and then freezes up, still not a case. It's unrealistic. Again, where's a landowner supposed to put that snow and ice when they plow their parking lot? So that's another call that I get a lot. They didn't salt. They didn't plow. They did a bad job plowing. Unfortunately, liability does not attach. You can't sue the landowner if that's why you slipped and fell. What you have to show is that it was an unnatural accumulation. There's a distinction in the law between a natural accumulation and an unnatural accumulation. If it falls from the heavens onto the ground and you slip and fall, it's unfortunate, but it's not the landowner's fault. So some examples of an unnatural accumulation could be, and I've seen these in my own practice. I had a case against an apartment building many years ago where they failed to turn the sprinklers off in the winter and the pipes broke and the water ran out into the parking lot and froze. Now that was caused by the negligence of the apartment owner, and we were able to prove liability and make a recovery for the person who fell. Another example could be, and we see this a lot as well, negligent or defectively designed property. So if you build an awning and the awning doesn't, for instance, come out far enough to cover the sidewalk, or it only covers half of the sidewalk, and all the water runs off of the awning onto the middle of the sidewalk and freezes, that would be a case. That would be negligence. Another example would be if you just don't clean your gutters. The gutters fill up with leaves and things in the fall, and you don't do anything about it, and it gets all backed up, and the water pours down, and somebody slips and falls on that water. That would be another example of an unnatural accumulation where there would be liability. A real common call we get is tracked in water. So you go into the grocery store, and there may or may not be a rug, but where that rug ends, there's snow falling off people's shoes. You come along or somebody comes along and trips or slips in that melted snow on the ground. Again, it would be unreasonable for a court to require the grocery store, let's say in this example, to have somebody standing there with a towel wiping up the floor every time a customer walked in. So that is also considered a natural accumulation. It just happens in northeastern Ohio, and we're all very familiar with that, unfortunately, and you just have to take extra precautions. Another example where liability could attach would be, you may even have undisturbed snow that fell from the heavens, but if underneath that snow there's a big old pothole like we see all the time, and you can't see that pothole, so you step into it or you wrench your ankle and you fall, the snow is actually making your case for you. Because if that happened in the summertime, you obviously would be able to see it, and you probably wouldn't have a case because you need to watch where you're going. But in the wintertime, if that defect or dangerous condition is hidden or disguised or concealed by the snow and you fall in it, that would, again, there would be negligence there for allowing that big pothole to exist, and there could be liability in that situation. But for the most part, 9 out of 10 people who just slip and fall on ice, just slip and fall, not because Target or Home Depot or Walmart did something wrong. They just fell because there's snow and ice. So if you do fall, whether you think it's a case or you don't think it's a case, get some pictures, especially in a premises liability case. If a lawyer goes out there or you go out there the next day, the area is going to change. It may get shoveled, it may get salted, the weather might change. So if you do fall, get pictures of the area where you fell. We all have cameras in our pockets now, so take a bunch of pictures. Secondly, report it to the property owner. Report it to the store where you fell. They'll usually take your name and your number, and you'll file a report, and that way it's on file. Thirdly, if you're injured, then get medical treatment. And when you get the medical treatment, make sure you tell the medical provider at the urgent care or the hospital or at your doctor's office how you fell. It's important to document that in the records as well. If you fall and you're hurt and you're wondering if you have a case or not, call us. It doesn't cost you anything to get some advice. We'll always take your call. We'll always tell you what we think. And if it's a case, we'll be glad to help you. And if it's not, we'll explain to you why it's not. So, in closing, be careful out there. It's going to snow. It's going to freeze. It's going to be lousy weather for the next 3 or 4 months, like we all know. So be careful out there. I hope this information is helpful to you. Have a great Christmas, have a great New Year, and have a healthy New Year. And here's to a better 2021. Thank you.